Okay, so this is a recording for a tutorial on floor finishes, and we're gonna see it in two different ways. One is like how do we create a legend for floor finishes, and then another one is actually how do we actually get to render different materials in a plan. No? So I actually create a very simple project here, and I'm tabbing a couple times to select the floor that is underneath. You can see that in the 3D here. That floor, I just created a very simple floor finish of 1 inch there, and I created a cherry one. So when I go to level 1 and I go to shaded view, everything is the same material. Okay, so again, it's two things. One is how we render things, and the other one is actually a bit more of a how do we legend, how we create a legend with different materials. Okay, first thing I recommend is that you actually duplicate with detailing and rename. So you start with a level that clearly states what you want to do, level, and let's call it a room legend just to start with. First thing we need to do is create room legends, okay? Room separators or boundaries. To do that, you click on that button and you start clicking inside each of the rooms, and notice how this X-ray starts expanding until it meets a boundary made of walls, and they're all named the same, but you can actually name it differently. Like let's say bedroom 1, kitchen, bedroom 2, storage. Let's call it a bathroom. Storage 2. This could be bathroom 2 and living room. And you might want to actually separate by program a specific area within an area. So that means that you don't have the walls to actually control that boundary. So you can use the room separator again under architecture. Create any boundary you want. Let's imagine it's like a rectangle that I'm tabbing here to select it and rotate it. Oops, that was weird. So what's happening is actually that the title of that one is going all around. So let me actually I just wanted to rotate it a notch. Okay, you can move the titles as you wish, and even the expansion like X. Okay, so that means I can create now another room because I created a new boundary within it. Okay, so I can call this, I don't know, like chill room, for example. Okay, good. So there we have several rooms with different names, and what we could do now is under annotate, bring a color fill legend. We drag it out, click once, establish it to be rooms and name. I'm going to create a color for each of the different names. If you had a name that is the same, for example storage, it will automatically adapt it to the same legend. Okay, so if you change it, create a new component in the legend. You can select the legend and edit the scheme to change the colors. If you want something a bit more aggressive in colors, you can do that, or you can do a change of patterns, okay, for the materials of different types. Say apply, and you change it to be a different pattern. Okay, so this is a way of controlling your room legend. But what about a floor finish legend? What we're going to do is duplicate this option with detailing, rename, call it floor finish legend, and here what we need to do is actually change a couple of parameters of the rooms and a couple of parameters of the legend itself. So I'm going to edit the scheme for the legend. I'm going to duplicate, right click, rename, and I'm going to actually name it something like floor finish. I'm going to also give it a different name for the title, which is this text above the legend. floor finish legend, and that's going to speak to a specific parameter of the rooms. It's going to be called floor finish. Okay, say okay, say okay. You'll see why it has no specific parameters. It's because if we select the room, we need to actually go and scroll down and change the floor finish here by adding sample wood. Okay, you can still have the name of the room there, and you will incorporate the color associated to the material. Okay, so we have to do that for every single room, obviously, and start giving different materials. If they're different, they will be computed here. Okay, for example, plastic. Let's say tiles, ceramic, let's say tiles 2. Let's call this concrete, and you can also expand here and just select the ones that you already have placed. I don't know, like plastic. Okay. Again, you can change the scheme, and in this case, it could be useful that all of them, for example, are black. Remember that in a concrete and a construction set, if you print it, you're most probably not going to have printed in color. That's more of a presentation, and you can change here the type of pattern. For example, for concrete, you must probably have concrete. For well, that was ceramic actually. You could just have a diagonal down. You can have a concrete for the concrete. You can have a plastic. You can just choose a horizontal. Let me see where it is. There it is. You can have for tiling what's called cross hatch. For tiles 2, you can create a diagonal cross, diagonal down, cross hatch. Wood, you have several types of woods here. Okay, and you apply. So okay, there you have, like each of them have a pattern. You have a legend with a pattern. So material talks to rooms, and this is a very interesting kind of a legend to have in your floor finish plan. Okay, now, well, it's your room. I didn't select it, but it's the same. You can just select it and change the parameter to be concrete, whatever it is. Now, again, this doesn't change our way of rendering. Okay, so what I'm going to do is render this so we see that. I'm going to create a camera and come in here. There you go. Let's expand the view, the window a little bit, so we see a bit further. And notice that this area in the middle has supposedly like a different material. So I'm going to render this. I'll leave it at draft, but you should take it up to high. Probably best it's a bit too slow. You can create a render region if you want, just the specific area. And this adjust exposure is good to change afterwards if it's too dark or so. Probably mine is going to be too dark, because there's actually only a couple of windows here, and actually the windows are behind. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is just close that and go to level 1 and very fast create several windows to place more light very fast. Okay. When you create a camera, it comes back here to 3D views automatically, so I'm going to render that again. Okay, so this is a moment where there should be more light than it is, so you can use the adjust exposure and move slightly these elements to start getting a bit more light. Okay. Be careful with moving this very harsh, because it actually burns the image entirely. You need to just take it back a notch. Okay. Obviously, we don't have artificial light, which could potentially give more light to the scene. Okay, so as you can see, the material in the center is actually the same material, so there's no actually difference. So how do we change the materials for this? Let me save this. By the way, you had a way of saving this here. Once you create the render, you can save to the project, or you can export it as a JPEG or so. I'm going to go to level 1. What you need to do is actually use the command split and paint. Okay, split SF, and you're going to split the floor. So I'm going to tap a couple times to select the floor, and I'm going to use the split tool, SF, and basically you're going to split along a specific line. Okay, oops, sorry. You need to select split and select the floor, and now you need to pick where you want to split around. Okay, now you need a polyline that closes and matches the edges of that floor clearly. If I say yes, it's going to tell me this is not actually touching the floor here, neither it is here. Say continue, and you can expand these guys until they meet. Okay, the edge. Now if you say yes, that's perfect. You can go to shaded view. It's the same material, but now what we can do is actually paint that material with whatever material we want to have. Okay, if you don't have the material you want, you can always create a material by going to, as you know, manage materials, and here create a new material. Don't duplicate materials, doesn't work very well. Just create material and assign appearance for rendering. All the elements in appearance are for rendering. Graphics for how you see it actually in the hidden line option. Okay, good. So we need to cut and split further every single part. So I'm going to just do it here in the living room by splitting, selecting the floor, picking where the splitting option is going to be for the living rooms a bit longer. And in this case, we need to select this one too. And obviously, if I say OK, it's going to tell me there's different points. You have to actually make sure there's a close polyline. So I'm going to trim. I'm going to also select this and extend until it touches the wall. Here. Here. And trim here. Make sure that it touches wall and it's a closed polyline. You can say OK. Let me see, what could it be? I think we need to actually create this one afterwards. So I'm going to say OK. There you go. We can paint this with whatever material we want. Let's say it's a wood, for example, oak flooring. There you go. And we can split as many times as we want. We can actually split again this section and pick this one and say OK, and paint that having a concrete, I think it was. Can search for concrete. It could be casting place, and there you go. Okay, I could have started trimming every single one of them. I could keep on painting other ones. Let's say this is actually all carpet, and I don't know, this like being copper or any other material, iron or metal deck, etc., etc. So you have many options, and you just need to make sure you trim properly each of the options that you want to have as a different material. Okay. What that allows us now is actually to be able to go to the same camera and render again. Probably if you want to take it to a bit higher quality, that starts making sense. Okay. And there you have the material being changed. We will talk in class how we can actually change a bit the materials in a way of looking. By the way, you can split floors because we selected the floor, but I could have split also the wall by selecting the wall split, create a line into it, and then assigning a different material. Okay, as I said before, you can save to a project, give it a name, or you can export it as your ways and select a TIFF file, JPEG, which compresses, or PNG, which doesn't compress it, and that you can use for other purposes. Okay, so that's a little more of material finishes. In general, for the sheet, what you do is place your plan at give it scale. Now with materials, so that should be in hidden lines. Okay. You might have some patterns, so that's perfectly fine. And you might bring actually the finished legend in a smaller scale. Let's take it to 1/16th or even smaller, depending on how you think it fits best. And organizing this properly. Again, I remind you that all these little elements you should clean, the grid should appear, dimensions between grids, probably you don't need elevation marks in a legend, so you can hide category and deactivate and bring it back. Okay, so there's all kinds of work that you still have to do, just not dragging into the view and expect that it's gonna be perfect. You have to kind of work out a little bit the organization of the sheet, the layout, the elements that are seen or you must hide, etc., etc. Okay, so great, we're done there.